Ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your host, Jim Bob Oval Shorts, and tonight we set sail on an awesome episode with another one of these great podcasters I've found thanks to that fantabulous podcast family I've made over there on Instagram. Hey, everybody. The host of the Cosmic Peach podcast, Miss Julia. I imagine tonight's going to be some pretty good conversation. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with her, but after thumbing through a little bit of her show and following her now on Instagram for a little while, I can already tell this is going to be a fun night. So you guys know that, of course, every one of our fantabulous guests that we have join us every night, there are links to get back to them in each one of the episodes, and of course over there on everybody's favorite website of all, unconstitutionalawakening.com, your home for everything Unconstitutional Awakening. And of course, you guys know that when you get over there, you can find fantabulous things like the podcast and more section, where you can check back on previous episodes, find us on other episodes of other podcasts and other places, as well as keep up with me on the Red Pill Project, where I co-host on Saturday nights with my homeboy Vince over there on Makes You Think. Of course, there's also some stuff going on in there from Bandit, Kel, Neptune, all the above, man. We've always got some good stuff going on over here on the website. And there's some folks over there that interact with us on the regular, so I appreciate you folks. There's also links to get back to everywhere you can watch us around the world on these fantabulous streaming apps, Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute. And hey, everybody over there in the comment section and giving us rumbles and giving us love, we thank you guys a whole bunch. You're the reason we keep on going. You can also find links to get back how to find us in the audio versions, which we are on every audio app worldwide, you guys. You can listen to us anywhere you want. And I see you folks over there in UK and Australia. Don't think I'm going to not give you guys any love, too. You guys are our second and third most listened to and watched area. So I appreciate all you folks over there in the upside down and across the pond giving us all that love back as well. While you're hanging out there, you can also just listen to the show if you feel like catching up with a recent episode. There is also a link to get back to our merch store to get you some awesome Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast merch. Man, we got shirts, we got hats, we got towels. There's all kinds of cool different things inside that shop, and it goes to helping keeping this show going. So if you guys want to get you some cool stuff to support the show, hop on over there and check that out, as well as checking out our friends in Liberty that we've got over there: Kirk Elliott, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, Brett Pike with Classical Learner and Homeschools Connected, and our newest one, Pure Pet Wellness, who are doing like CBD for dogs and cats and stuff. Man, these are all great people doing great things outside the system, and that's the key, because we've got to build a new system, because the one we currently have is totally crumbling more and more every single day. But there's links to get back to them and all of these on the website, of course, and in each and every episode. I cannot stress that enough, you guys. You guys only just got to click on the information about each episode, and you can totally find cool stuff about all these folks. So you guys make sure you hop on back over there and check out all that great stuff, as well as, checking the links below so that you can hook yourself up with our friends in Liberty and anything else that we may have talked about during this episode. So I think it's time that we just hoist this anchor up and just set sail on another episode. So let's get this going, y'all. So, of course, as you guys can see tonight, I've got Luis joining me. He's back on his week hiatus. Glad you could be here tonight with me, buddy. And we're hosting, as I said, Cosmic Peach Podcast. This chick, we've already been having some awesome conversation prior here to the record, you guys, so I can't really wait to get into this. And as I was saying in the opening, I've been thumbing through what she's got going on over there on her page. And she seems like my kind of people because she's all over the place like we are, guys. Like, there's just nothing she seems too hesitant about to talk about. But I'm not going to talk. I don't want to talk about it too much. Hey, why don't you give us a little bit of a plug and tell us a little bit about your show, a little bit about yourself? What got you interested in doing this kind of thing?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I started my podcast really because it was better than trying to convince all the people around me that I wasn't crazy. So I was like, you know what? There's a whole community out there of people who think exactly like I do. I'll just start a podcast so I can make some friends and I don't feel so lonely.
Fair.
But yeah, I'm super interested in all of it. On my show, I cover paranormal, cryptids and conspiracy theories, and I make up my own theories a lot of the time. So if something strikes me and I'm like, I don't think this has been covered in this way, I'll just post an episode about it and see if people respond. If they do, I kind of make part twos and part threes, expanding on the topic. But yeah, I'm like I said before, down to talk about anything supernatural.
Nice. We love all of the above. We did a little bit of extra on the supernatural side, more of the during spooky month. We had kind of a little thing going on where I had a medium over here doing some fun stuff, and we had Bigfoot talks and all kinds of just wild cryptid stuff going on. Just because I was trying to run with the month, but we do like to talk about that kind of stuff kind of all the time. Like when some of my early episodes, even before Luis had joined on, I was known actually for having a lot more spiritual based guests on here hanging out because I happen to know a lot of them and I love talking to them about things from their perspective. Because what I find great about all of my spiritual friends is they all kind of practice something different, but they all practice literally the same thing. It's just got a different name to it. And I guess me being the outside view on that and having all these friends in that different aspect, I see what they don't about it, I guess. And I'm just like, okay, this is neat.
Yeah.
Like you guys have figured something out. Now just come together with it. Like realize this is a focal point of coming together.
So you're the dot connector. You're listening to all of their stories and you're putting the pieces together, which is another thing that I really love to do on my show, because I've heard so many cryptid encounters and I've heard so many people tell me about their ghost stories. And what I'm finding is that there's commonalities between all of that. And it might actually be portals or something like that. And then you can kind of run with it from there, because you do hear a lot of people who see Bigfoot. There's weird portal activity, or Dogman. There's like other things going on in the area, kind of like Skinwalker Ranch. There could be like a big portal out there. You know what I'm saying? And they're just popping their head in and out of our reality. And it's so crazy because until I got in the podcast world, I didn't know how common things like that were.
Oh,
It's been around for so long. So we have the idea that all of this is just human imagination, right? But like this topics, which are mainly for the purpose of entertainment, but also for the purpose of questioning, they are topics that need discussion, but also need exploration, because they're also very fantastical topics. Like a lot of our literature in some respects are influenced directly by these topics. So when you're looking at the biblical times, or you're looking just at the medieval times, or you're looking just 100 years ago, you see these topics show up over and over and over and over again. And you even look back 3,000 years, same thing.
Yeah.
So there has to be some form of a connection that is not simply, oh, it's all in your fucking head.
Yeah.
Like it's not that simple.
Right. If you've had a ghost encounter, or you've seen Bigfoot or the Loch Ness monster, you need a straitjacket. because these things don't
I
exist.
mean, tell me who's seen Nessie, because that's one that I'm like.
Well, we've got actually, Luis, we the guy that I helped do a little bit of that.
I want to see Nessie. I'm just
I
not
do.
really ever seen any evidence of
when
it.
I helped my buddy over there, Nate from the Reality Czars, and their friend Ben, I can't think of his last name, but I had him on the show. He wrote a book about a Loch Ness monster type monster that's up in the Washington area, I guess, that he's been on the search for a long time, and he was a real cool, interesting fellow, you know. And I like all the Bigfoot stuff, especially. Like, this is something that I pointed out in the documentary, and I like to point out with this is, you know, everybody talks about how the missing people and the cave systems lay over the top of each other. Lay the Bigfoot sightings map over the top of both of those maps, and all three of them line up almost identical. Like, as far as like where they all coincide when it comes to Bigfoot. And that's what has always led to me. Well, you know, of course, the portal travel is definitely something in my mind, or dimensional type thing, but also they totally live inside Earth. They're like the inner Earth. They're the big. My thought is they're the big red-headed giants that all these other cultures have always talked about finding, that lived in cave systems, and probably some kind of great ancestor that's related to all of us in some way. Who knows?
I mean,
the red-haired giants.
Yeah.
The weird thing. Well, for example, dinosaurs. I remember they just discovered an actual a perfectly preserved egg, and there's a scan in China, and you can see the feathers of the perfectly preserved dinosaur. I just sent you something really fascinating. Have you guys heard, if you want to go into cryptic, weird, and just bizarre because of the story of the Baltic mystery UFO underwater in the Baltic Sea?
Oh, there's all kinds of portal shit going on under the sea.
So this is an object that looks like a spaceship, but the problem is every time they get close to it, the equipment starts malfunctioning.
Oh, of course.
Interesting.
So this is very deep, also underwater. So it's not super easy.
Not
Are
super
we talking
accessible.
like Mariana's Trench deep?
No. That's excessively deep. No, it's just let me see now. Let me see what's the deep. You can see the images there. It's they think it's a shipwreck from on a documentary. Yeah. It's very interesting looking. The scans look very interesting. I don't know if you saw the images of
the images that come on when you first pull it up.
Yeah, look, I'll show you the Gaia one. But the
this
reason why I
this
mentioned
guy right here,
that one. That's it. I mean, but I sent you a direct link to one that shows it in pretty detail.
Okay.
There's a lot of scans of it, and it's very fascinating, and they don't have a good explanation for it, and they need to do deeper research. But point is, all these things, we discover them all over the world, and we have to question, all right, instead of making fun of that person that just told you that they saw something that essentially others can describe as a dinosaur, why don't you inquire further? Because in Africa, in several countries in Africa, there's cryptids, cryptid animals, and they're really defined as animals we don't have much data on.
You mean the Brontosaurus that walks around the Congo?
Yeah, the giant squid. The simplest example is giant squid.
squid.
Remember when you were a little kid? When we were all little kids, giant squids were myths, right? Remember?
Or like the colossal squid or whatever. Yeah.
Well, the colossal, I believe the correct term, and that's not the scientific term, they're calling it colossal squids.
Something like that. And, it's similar because I'm from Ohio, and we had Bessie in Lake Erie, which is essentially our Loch Ness monster. Kind of like, what's the other one called? Ogopogo and Ishi and Kusi in Japan.
We've got one down in Georgia, down in a river down here in Georgia that there's legend of, that I've always wanted to go on an adventure and check out. And I actually heard of the one you're speaking of when I lived on the other side of Lake Erie over there in Buffalo. That was
Bessie.
Yeah, I knew about Bessie. I heard a bunch of stories about that while I was there. I always found that interesting.
What's the one in Georgia called? What's the cool name they've given the one in Georgia? Is that Champ?
No, it's named after the river.
And there was one even
I'm getting the name
Bandit
now.
mentioned in Kentucky. I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, Puerto Rico's got the chupacabras, but we also have a lot of UFO activities. I mean, a lot. Puerto Rico gets too many weird things in the air. Also, it's because there's a military base that like has been denied by the military to exist. But everybody's like, no, there's a what?
Sorry, the one in Georgia is called Alti.
That's an interesting name.
After the Altamaha River.
They're everywhere. People are marketing them everywhere. I don't know. I've never seen them myself. But
what would be the intent of making these things up?
So I know for Ogopogo, they actually have a lot of tourist attraction there, and shops and restaurants, and
so there's a
ferry boat rides and stuff like that for Ogopogo. And even in Cleveland, if you get close enough, they'll have like little Bessie boat tours and Bessie hats and shirts. And so it would suck if somebody was like, there is no Bessie, because then they'd be like, oh, I just bought 40 fucking hats I gotta sell. What the fuck am I gonna do?
But they got the memory of the experience.
Yeah, there you go.
No, seriously. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like a Harry Potter ride. What's the difference?
I know, right?
There's literally no difference when you go to a Roswell thing. There's no difference. If it's all fantasy, then it's all fantasy. But are you enjoying the experience? Well, then that's the whole thing.
As a person that frequents things like Renaissance festivals and comic book conventions, yes, like I can see. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that what gives me that open eye to see the lure to, yes, I want to hear your story, even if it's a complete load of hoopla, because
it's a fun story.
Because I bet it's really fun, you know, and like that was something else we did during the entire month of October. I was in costume every single month.
I love it.
Every single episode I wore a different costume for the entire month. I did upside down Spider-Man for an episode too. That was fun.
So are you into the cosplay thing where you're creating your own costumes?
Oh, I build my own costumes. Yes, ma'am.
I respect that. That is awesome.
Could you show her one of your masterpieces, please?
Do you want to see which?
Oh, well, I have to see it now.
Of course.
There's a few.
Let's see.
I mean, Robotnik is pretty decent.
I can probably get Robotnik and my most recent one pulled up real quick. I know I've got them right here on my phone.
You have to have that. Yeah. Why did you make a TikTok with it? Dang it! Because that's when the account got.
Because that's when they.
They shut you out, huh?
140,000 strong, and I kind of said something along the lines of voting is just slavery with extra steps, and they were like, bye.
Canceled. Yeah.
We can't have
not that. Even that bad. I mean, have you seen some of the crazy stuff some people on TikTok are doing? I mean, it's the most racist ranchage. I can't do that.
Yeah.
There's very racist people on all sides, like white, Jew, every spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And in the fact that they act so emboldened that no, I have the right idea. White people are the scum of the earth. You are pure evil. I'm like, what are you like? You sound just like other people sounded speaking about you. Like,
it's awful. It's awful. And I also have to say, his comment, whatever about the voting, that's gonna get him taken off. But the 6-year-old with the booty shorts on doing the TikTok dance, that's cool for anybody, any grown pedophilic.
I discovered a very troubling thing, and I think I told you. Okay, so go to a very big trending song, and then just scroll, and you're gonna find the kids.
So
absolutely, you will.
Here's this year's build. It was Batman the Animated Series, Mr. Freeze.
I love it.
That was just a quick build. There's my Dr. Robotnik.
Oh wow, it's so authentic.
Then I did Two-Face.
Oh boy.
I even shaved half my head that night just because I usually have a shaved head. I'm a shaved head kind of guy, but I I've been caught up with baby and life and stuff, so shaving my head just wasn't a priority, and I just let my hair kind of get a little wild. But I did it with a plan. I was like, when it's time for this costume, I'm going to shave half my head for the costume because
That's
I'm committed to the character.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's dedication.
This was I'm known for crossing Deadpools. I've crossed them with a bunch of different costumes, and this go around, I did Beetlejuice and Deadpool. So, like, I'm
hilarious.
I try to keep it fresh. I've always got a different idea going on. Actually, we've been discussing because there's this god awful original Grimace costume, like from McDonald's.
Do you find that
I'll find it.
listing? So he found this listing of a Grimace. We have to see if we find that. Somebody made a sketch about of Grimace being manufactured in McDonald's and how they're bred inside of McDonald's.
The meat canyon. The meat canyon.
And that's
sketch.
and that's the meat for the McRib.
Ugh.
It's so gross.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it's so horrible.
I do not eat McDonald's. I do not.
Well done.
Good for you.
I do not eat it, but Grimace just looks like a big purple turd, anyways. Like what?
Wait until you see this one. But I think he can build it. Like it's because he already has pictures of the inside, and structurally, it's not super complicated.
I'd love to see it.
It's like a 1980s, right? It's 1980s Grimace. So it was for McDonald's World. It was for a real theme park in McDonald's had. I forgot. I believe it's probably 80s, 90s. McDonald's did have a theme park, and this is from the theme park. So it's like $2,500 they're asking for it. Because I guess it is McDonald's memorabilia, but it looks horrible.
Right. I mean, but they'll knock you over the head for anything if you just type something in. So my favorite Christmas movie of all time is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And there's quite a few scenes in that movie where he opens up a little advent calendar and it'll say, December 10th or December 21st. I went looking for like a replica of that to have. And I searched high and low, like Etsy, official websites. And the cheapest I could find it was like $3,000. And I was like, are you serious? Wow. And I was thinking if it wasn't in that movie, it'd probably be like a $50 thing. You know what I'm saying? But because it's in that movie, they can knock you over the head.
Oh, this is from McDonald's. There we go.
Apparently it ended. Somebody
but did they sell it?
I don't know.
No, it doesn't say it was bought.
It doesn't say it was bought.
No, it just expired.
It doesn't have the rest of the pictures like it did the other day. For some reason, I can't see the rest.
Oh, wait, go down.
That's other things for sale.
Oh, that's other products.
Yeah, that's other products. But you can kind of. I wish I'd bring up the picture.
I think I saved the pictures because I was like, this looks too ridiculous. But yeah, well, you can see from this. Oh yeah, or you can just.
Bam! Look at him.
Oh boy.
That's the thing of nightmares. And Luis was like, "You gotta build one of those, bro." He's like, "You gotta build one of those."
Because it looks like just like a lot of fleeces stitched up together.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to
find the exact tone of vomit, of purple vomit.
The eyeballs are scary on that one.
Right? Those things look terrifying. I was like, this is the thing of nightmares. I want it just for the nightmares. Like, that in itself looked...
Well, once you finish building it, if your kids run away, you know you did a good job.
They love my costume making now. They get right in there with me.
No, but you have to do it in secret, so you just when they jump
pop up in it.
Yeah, I did. I kept the Spider-Man suit that I had for a while secret from them for a couple months until we busted it out for like a birthday party, and I showed up after they got everything set up. I went off back into the house and then showed back up around the front of the house in my Spider-Man outfit, and all the kids about just died that were all there. They're like, "Oh my God, it's Spider-Man!" And I was just like, "Sweet, I made their day. That's all that matters to me."
That's it.
Like. It doesn't even, and none of the rest of it matters. I don't care if they didn't like this or didn't like that or didn't get what they wanted. At least Spider-Man showed up. They'll talk about that for the rest of their life.
Forever memory.
Do you find Santa Claus fallacy to be valid if necessary?
You know, okay, all right.
Because
Dadgummit,
it's very
man.
particular because it takes away from the
This is
effort of
a
the parents.
this is a okay. I'm not
I was
big into the
thinking about that
whole.
the other day, so I'm asking you, like parent, what is your view on the fallacy of Santa Claus?
So it wasn't my intention to start it really to begin with, but it just kind of happened, and because of like other family members and stuff like that, and going to see Santa because they thought it was cool when he was in the store. So I just kind of let it ride because they're super young. And I was gonna actually intend on telling them because I'm not big into lying to my kids about stuff. They know things on a level they shouldn't. My boy likes to watch this show, and he's younger than he needs to be, kind of listening to some of the things we talk about, but he's smart. So, you know, he. I guess the other day they were asking 10 million questions, and my wife just blurted it out. And like I've got all these like yeah, so
No.
she and I wasn't even at home. So like I kind of felt a little bit of a kind of way about it because I was just like, man, I wanted to at least be part of the breaking it to them, but she broke it to them. They took it better than than we thought they did, and they're still excited for Christmas. So, and she told me to not let it burn me out. If I still want to take the kids to go see Santa, I can still take the kids to go see Santa because it's about a memory of doing something with your dad over.
Or the Grinch, really. I think the
Or the
Grinch is more
Grinch. I'd be
entertaining.
down to go see the Grinch even. You know what I'm saying? They're,
'Cause some people do really good Grinches. I'll give to actors that like do that Grinch role.
I
Jim
do,
Carrey.
really, really
they know who
well.
Krampus is because I do threaten them with Krampus now. Like
Oh,
they totally know who Krampus
when a
is.
German first told me that, like several years ago, we were all. This was in Thanksgiving. It was a Vietnamese, a German, a Russian, a Ukrainian, a French woman. Like there was people from all over the world. And he started talking about Krampus, and we only a few of us, like only one other person knew there. I think it was the other German. Nobody else knew about Krampus because this is like 10 years ago. And Krampus now, there's movies and everything, but really, how many Americans knew about Krampus? I even asked a few people, and some people really didn't know. So yeah, Krampus is insane.
I just covered I covered Krampus and Santa Claus in
Look at
my,
that! Like they
my
scared.
Christmas
No wonder
episode.
they started World War One, World War Two.
Mhm.
Look at the trauma.
It's not cute for sure. And the lore behind it goes along the lines of if you're bad, Krampus will take you out into the woods and you'll never be seen again, or he may just beat you with like sticks and branches. But if you're good, Santa will bring you goodies. So it was like a motivation to not be an ass all year. But they've turned Santa Claus kind of into an amalgamation of both characters because Krampus is like German for claw. And then Saint Nick or Father Christmas, they kind of mesh those two together, and Santa Claus is like Holy Claus. So they've meshed those two ideas. If you're bad, you'll get coal, and if you're good, you'll get presents. And they've done away with the you'll never be seen again part.
Well,
I mean, that's
was
literally
like a big
that is
deal.
traumatizing to people. Like that's
True.
not traumatizing to that is traumatizing.
True.
Oh
True.
yeah.
But let's be real. You know, you're saying where they mesh things together and stuff. If you really look at America in general, we're just a bunch of stolen ideas put together. Like
Faux show.
even down to our language. Like we were having I was having a conversation today with somebody that was talking about just English language in general. And I was like, what do you mean? It's a joke. I was like, that's why it changes so much. And people have so many different dialects, regardless of where you go across the country, because it's already like 7 different languages in a trench coat pretending to be one. So, well,
I mean, go around the world and you'll find English versions. I mean, Liberia is actually a fascinating one. If you've never heard of a Liberian speaking, it sounds like English, but the description is like a Creole. But it's an English version of Creole.
Okay.
And it's fascinating because you can understand it, but then you can't. It's like your brain goes like, oh. So look up a Liberian speaking, and you're gonna be asking yourself what's going on with my brain. There was another person that invented this language, which is like trans language. So it's a Spanish speaking person, an Italian speaking person, a Portuguese speaking person can understand what he's saying.
What?
Yes, it is fascinating. Let me see if I find a clip.
Dude,
Ooh,
actually,
what
I was.
The problem is none of you speak Spanish potentially, so to you it might literally sound like gibberish. But
Well, just on a side note,
Italian too.
just
Like
looking
all
that
these
thing up
languages
about
combined.
just looking that thing up about Liberia. Just on a side note, apparently that country has more than 24 languages spoken alone in that country. So no wonder it probably sounds all kinds of different ways over there. Like that's quite a few languages going on there.
I mean, Mexico has like 36 dialects.
I don't doubt it, but so does America if you really think about it.
No, I mean like part of the native dialects. I mean, but yes, the U.S. Has some. I mean, in Louisiana,
Yeah,
that's a perfect example of English that's kind of not English. That's English.
as
Cajun English is.
I mean,
it's
accents
a
are
dialect.
wild.
That's a dialect. That's a dialect.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's funny you talk to someone, and I get made fun of all the time because I grew up in Cleveland and then I moved to Kentucky for like 8 years and then I moved back to Cleveland. Now I'm in Oklahoma and I have a weird hybrid accent where like half of it I say really southern, super southern, and then there's another part where I have the nasally weird Cleveland accent.
you say pop.
So, huh?
You say pop.
Pop. Yeah.
When I was in Buffalo, that was because I've spent time in a bunch of different states all over here and outside of the country a couple times too, and I've heard all the different languages, and you definitely pick up a little bit from each place that you go. Like,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I've never been able to get car right again because of living in Buffalo. I still have, for some reason, that nasal comes out in me, and I have that higher in the A area, like they do with certain words and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
picked up a lot from being in the South and out in the West, and in the North Midwest and such too. Like that, I don't know. There's just different. The dialect's crazy, and it is crazy how you pick it up from so many different people. You can,
or if you lived in New York for a long time, I mean, that's a whole nother different.
How different do I sound than how I know? Look with the Long Island accent. There's several tones here, but the Long Island one is funniest one. But I think
Long Island.
Long Island. You got your coffee?
Yeah, see, that's crazy to me. But they probably don't really hear it.
Well, they do. It just becomes so natural. And also people say dead ass here a lot.
Dead ass.
Dead ass, like I try not to say. First of all, I have to take like out of my vocabulary, and I never say dead ass just because I know it applies to 100 different things, but at the same time, it's also who you're speaking to. So
yeah, no, dead ass is weird to me because I don't.
But
say
it's 100%
part of my
New York.
vocabulary. Yeah,
it's 100% exclusively from here, and a lot of people use it a lot.
Well, you think about it like this.
The crutch.
I didn't realize how often I use certain words until
you heard yourself
podcasting. And I made a list of words to catch myself saying because I was annoying myself at one point. And I made a list of words and I made a sticky note and stuck it on my laptop. So every time I do a podcast, I remind myself, don't say this, or this.
Fair.
At least 6 times in the episode because it was every other word.
A good trick is silence.
Or like, or
for the hums is silence. Just train yourself into silence.
That's exactly my problem though, because the second I hear silence, I'm like, yeah.
But I know that's the hardest part. Exactly. Obama used to do it a lot and then he fixed it, but Obama had a lot of like linguistic issues. I mean, you could hear there was one case that in the White House there was a heckler and some crazy stuff happening, and he said no, and like he literally started stuttering, full on stuttering.
What?
It's an interesting recording, and he just starts full on stuttering.
Maybe he
had a stutter, but Biden never had a stutter. He's just full blown senile, and Obama's like the actual president right now, and he is doing a terrible job.
My God, and terrible job is something else. You know, we kind of talked about this the other day when you weren't here, Luis, when we had Jason Bassler on from the Free Thought Project. It just happened to be the day that they did that whole trade for the WNBA
Oh, the day I
player.
couldn't come, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the craziest thing about the trade. I was hearing No Agenda, and they were discussing an interesting point is the brother. His reaction was really weird.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, oh, yeah, America did the right thing. Like, you hear him, and it doesn't make any sense.
Huh.
What it could be is that his brother screwed up to some capacity, and he was burned by the state, and that's why they don't care about him. It could be they're burning him, and they're like, we don't care about you. Like, that's how much we don't care. We literally traded one of the best arms dealer on the planet for a basketball player. That's insane. Like, I've never heard of a worse trade in sports history in life. I'll give you best trader ever for her. Okay. Cool. Great job.
Well, you know, and you were, you know, or before we even got started recording and stuff, you were talking about that interview, and you know, I'm not gonna share the interview. It's like a 45-minute interview, but I totally recommend you guys go check that out if you haven't, because I gotta say that he says some very interesting things because he spent so much time in prison and like rural America. You know, he actually this fellow actually lived amongst the people, and you know, went from having the high life to seeing what it was like.
How was he paid $40 an hour while in prison,
bro?
How the hell did he get that job?
You know why?
That's how crazy that guy is.
I asked that too because you know, when we had my friend on here the other week that did time in prison,
he got paid nothing.
He got paid 11 cents an hour for the job that he did.
But a Russian arms dealer got paid $40 an hour, and he liked the job because he was learning about American bureaucratic systems.
Yep.
He liked the job. He was like, oh, it's fascinating. Because, I mean, the guy is not a good guy, but he's very smart. You could tell. I mean, we couldn't understand him. We were hearing a translation. When you watch the video, you're just going to hear a translation.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, when you hear Putin too, he's translated, but the guy's super freaking smart. Because I've seen him in press junkets and stuff. He is actually not doing the press junket this year. That was interesting. So he does sometimes multi-hour press junkets, but this year he's not doing it. And I imagine it's all related to all the nonsense that's happening. Hopefully a peace treaty comes this December and this stupid freaking war ends, because it's just ridiculous.
I mean, it's just a money funnel. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how can we print money endlessly? Endless wars. Okay, next we got Iran in the corner over here. We need to provide some democracy in the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what's been going on for quite some time. You know, I have no problem bringing this subject up because if you look, there's even stuff that they don't talk about on a regular basis, like Syria and Yemen and other places in the Middle East that
we're stealing Syria's oil right now.
That have been constantly getting.
Wants to talk about that.
That have been constantly getting bombed and or droned and or, you know, troops and stuff even over there guarding Lord knows what because they're just doing their job. You know, I'm not trying to hate on any military folks. We have a lot of military. We actually have ex-military on the show with Bandit and stuff like that, you know, and I understand that people need to learn lessons in life, and that's definitely one of those lessons in life, I guess, for some people to take. But I do see where, you know, like you're over there doing these kind of things, and a lot of them will tell you when they come back, Bandit will be included, that we weren't there protecting any freedoms. We were there dishing out our flavor of democracy into what they have. And it's just like, yeah, you can look at pictures of places like Yemen, for example, too.
Yemen,
way back when
Saudi Arabia, kill millions of Yemenis through the blockades for years now, and the only reason we're arming the Saudis is because the Saudis kind of set the standard for oil sales. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be bowing down to them. And then when Biden started acting up, now they're saying they want to sell it in renminbi, yuan. Obviously, they're not.
I mean,
it's an empty threat because the Chinese yuan is imploding. So the last thing you want is to go to the more unstable currency. Might as well do Swiss francs before you're going to do the Chinese yuan or the euro. It's more stable than the Chinese yuan.
the Swiss?
Yeah, even though we're propping it up. Oh, here's the interlanguage. Let's see if you understand it.
Okay.
Quando io parla, tu hai già l'evidenza che tu pote comprendere in lingua mesmo se tu non sape parlarlo. Studios ha confermate che comprendere una conversazione o un texto è cognitivamente più facile per il nostro cerebro che parlare o comunicare in una lingua. De facto, per aprender a parlare o comunicare in una lingua, tu deberás aprender a comprenderlo previamente. Ultra interlingua è che tu pote comprendere altre lingue che tu non sape parlare? È che una persona pote comprendere una lingua sin saper parlarlo previamente? Sì, naturalmente. È che tu me comprende? È che tu pote parlare le lingue che io parla? Se tu me comprende quando io parla, tu hai già l'evidenza che tu pote comprendere in lingua mesmo se tu non sape parlarlo. Studios ha confermate che comprendere una conversazione o un texto è cognitivamente più facile per il nostro cerebro che parlare o comunicare in una lingua. De facto, per aprender a parlare o comunicare in una lingua, tu deberás aprender a comprenderlo previamente. Ultra interlingua.
I got comprende out of there a few times, but there was a lot of that just went over my head.
I think it's because you need to at least know one of the main Romance languages because it's based off Romance languages. So that's like 700 million people could understand potentially what he was saying. 700, 800 million.
I know enough Spanish to get around the construction site.
But did you understand any of it? I'm just curious.
Very little. What about you, Peach?
Yeah. Did you understand any
I don't. I'm so bad. I know Arabic a little bit and English.
So interlingua was invented actually a long time ago, but it picked up again between 1937 and 1951. Interlingua. Interlingua is an international auxiliary language developed between 1937 and 1951 by the American International Auxiliary Language Association. So it was like Esparta. Come on, that universal language that the guy from Star Trek made one movie about in the language.
Oh yeah.
Espartano.
I know what you're talking about.
I'll take your word for it.
So it was a language developed by the UN. It was a very basic language with 10 letters that was designed to be a very universal language and everybody could speak. English just became the standard, but they were trying to make that the universal language.
Interesting. I mean,
Espartano or something like that.
I mean, it's just there's nothing wrong with having that. I've picked up because I took German when I was in school and stuff like that. That was something I chose, and that's why I went to Germany and stuff because I was in German classes and stuff like that. So that was my choice to go down. And then as far as the Spanish route, I've spent a good chunk of my life on construction sites and in kitchens. So I have worked with my fair share of Spanish people that of many different races. Like there's not just one when it comes to those industries. And you kind of got to pick up a little bit when you're probably the only white dude on the site, regardless of what you're doing and stuff like that. And
German is a really crazy one. I've tried, and
they got really long words.
Yes, yes.
Now, it has always interested me though. You can come across a lot of Spanish people, especially Mexican people that I've come across that actually do know German because there's a good bit of German in and out of that area too, all the way down to, Argentina and Venezuela and stuff like that. You'll find
those are other types of Germans,
but you'll still find some German speaking people all through that whole area.
Wait, Jimmy, show her the towns.
Oh, the German towns in South America?
In Brazil and Argentina? Oh yeah, you're gonna be like, what the fuck am I looking at? You're literally gonna see Germany inside of Brazil.
Oh, it's little Germany.
No, it's pretty big.
Is it?
It's big.
Because we had places like that in Cleveland we called Little Italy.
No.
We're talking about whole.
This is whole
regions.
The whole thing is German.
Yeah, the whole thing's German.
Is this what it is right here? That's
got pulled up.
We're looking at them right now.
Looking at pictures of
Brazil.
this place. That's southern Brazil. Yes.
Yeah, they named it Little Germany, but literally it's a whole town.
It's and you're right, Luis, that is, South America was a pretty good run point for a whole bunch of those guys that were doing the whole thing with Funny Mustache Man. So, that the
Luftwaffe.
They ended up in South.
Wild ride over there and never came back.
Well, there was some went to South America, some went to NASA, some went to the CIA, and then some might have very well also went into some kind of entrance down there in Antarctica and gone into something, because they did be spending a lot of time down there. Just saying.
I will say that Antarctica, the most fascinating thing about it is not only that we have this bizarro treaty that no country can officially claim anything, which is by itself very weird,
and the fact that they all honor it. That's what's weird.
They all honor it. Well, they are just research bases all over the Antarctic by multiple countries. So Russia, US, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, like many countries with a lot of fucking money, spent a ton of money to be operating in Antarctica. And it's actually insanely terrible conditions. So only 2.5 months of the year can you do anything. The rest of the time you have to stay inside.
Yeah, they are really focused on Antarctica, though. I do think there's something there.
There's a lot of research. So one of the main things is gravitational wave research. So they're researching how, let's say, a star exploded 100 million light years away, how it's the effect of a very powerful supernova or a galactic, or like the galactic center level explosion. So basically the waves that hit us, imagine like vibrations. And for some reason the Antarctic is really good for measuring all of that.
I have to gently insert that I am a flat earther. So
no, listen, we don't like, we have mixed feelings here. We've got
because I was gonna say
we've got simulation earthers
studying stuff in Antarctica. I just don't know how much we know about what they're really studying there.
Oh no, for sure they're studying different things. I'm not
right. It's got to be like.
First of all, what about those weird pyramid-looking buildings?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, yeah, sure. If they want to say like they're studying the waves, that's a great cover to me to throw off any more.
Why are they throwing so much expensive scientific equipment to the middle of nowhere, Antarctica?
Right. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. And then, I've heard so many theories about Antarctica. You almost have to use some discernment on some of those. But I do think that their obsession with it is odd.
And I guess to clarify, I heard you say earlier too about how you like off the wall theories and stuff.
Yeah, I do.
The running theory here with me, when it comes to, you want to get into the weird shape of things that because people always talk about the weird shape of things, and I'm like, well, guess what, everybody? You're inside a giant turtle-shaped spaceship going through the vast ocean of space on the way to a destination preset thousands of years ago, and hopefully one day it'll land in either my lifetime or maybe a future lifetime, and we'll figure out where we really are.
Yeah, we were talking one day, and then we were like, but what if we're just in a spaceship traveling to another star, and
it's all here.
Simulation,
like, it's
all alive, the consciousness of the individuals. They're breeding them because they need to breed them constantly. So we're in a ship traveling through the stars already, but we couldn't play the narrative that you can move in the ship. So they have to create this false narrative, and that's why why reality breaks and why there's so many errors. It's a computer trying to create error correction.
Which gets in
a weird way, the flat earthers are right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, no, because we had that other fellow on that guy from the Parallel Society, and he is a geocentric. Like he believes in the geocentric model, that everything revolves around us. And that leads into like the simulation theory and stuff like he's talking about, and kind of my what we call spaceship theory, I guess, in some way. And like
we're inside of pods. Exactly.
We're all right. You know what I'm saying? We are in the matrix. We are in the matrix. We are totally in a flat simulated plane that we think is totally something else, because that's how the matrix that we've got our brains inside of totally works. Like,
so
and that's how it keeps expanding and such.
But you can see the curvature of the Earth at a certain height. But it's like, yeah.
Let me ask you something, just so I know.
It could all be a simulation at the end of the day. A very complex, very, very eloquent simulation.
Right. But I mean, okay. So just so I can understand where your head is, if someone gave you 3 options, globe model, flat Earth, or the spaceship, and they said pick one, and if you're right, you'll get $1 billion. Are you still going with the spaceship? Or are you going to pick one of the other 2 options?
No, I'm.
You're 100%. You're sold.
I'm not sold on the spaceship, because see, actually, if you buckle me down to 3 options, I'm going to come up with a 4th option on the spot.
No, this is
I don't like being buckled down.
Game. This is a very specific game, and you have 3 options. You have to pick for $1 billion.
Oh, I mean, I
don't. There's people rich enough on this planet
like
to make
the shape of the Earth.
Right. I mean,
are you going with spaceship for $1 billion, Alex, or are you going with?
Absolutely, because I've seen points made from both the flat earthers and the globe earthers that are correct, and I've seen them both make incorrect assumptions.
It would be absolutely.
That's why I need a third.
Because it's even worse than flat Earth. Like, what's worse than flat Earth? We're inside of a fucking spaceship. I think that's even worse.
So Luis is going with the spaceship for $1 billion as well.
No, I'm going with the round.
Your globe for $1 billion.
$1 billion for the globe.
Okay, all right. So I mean,
we got the 3.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. I just like to see where people are, because it's one thing to sit here and speculate about things, but at the end of the day, we all have beliefs that we hold about certain things, and that shapes how we make new theories, because you have to have a baseline for something. Because for me, if I'm doing research and I'm 100% for $1 billion, I'm going flat Earth. A lot of the research that I find, because of my bias, is going to support that argument. So if you're a spaceship guy or Luis, he's globe guy, a lot of the things that we find, whether we like to admit it or not, are going to fit our bias. I like to just know where people's heads are before, I enter into a conversation with them, because flat Earth is one of those things you can fucking lose friends over. Flat Earth, you know what I mean?
Sure, no.
As long as they don't turn into things like that other situation, we had an amazing conversation with another person, and really we had no deconstruction. I mean, like we had no destructive elements to anyway from me or from them. It was all like, what about this? Well, then we go into that. What about this? Well, then we go into this. And the thing is, it's from the conversation or debate where you can extract different points, where you can have, okay, that's interesting, or that's actually been misconstrued or misquoted. And that's the thing, is we have sometimes that problem where a message that really was a mix of misinformation, or just like, the telephone game. If you say it enough times through enough people, the message gets absolutely distorted. And that's a perfect example, is like the Bible. The Bible, the original version that was written in Aramaic and other tongues, when you look at that version and you look at the meaning behind certain messages, completely different. Like the Bible people read today does not fucking mean half of what people think it means. And it really was a guidebook to civilization post-apocalypse. Like, okay, we fucked up, everything went to shit. What is a guidebook we can write and tell everybody to follow? And we're going to call it religion, because if they are not devout to this idea, they will die.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a lot of spiritualism that gets taken literally sometimes. I mean, you have to draw your line in the sand with everything, because there is a passage in the Bible that speaks about being able to pick up serpents And this has been taken in two ways, both spiritually and literally. And the literal version turned into snake handlers and a weird man-made denomination of Christianity where people were legit picking up snakes and just hoping to God they weren't getting bitten or die. And I always read that passage as more of a spiritual context where the serpent would represent like evil. Not so much that I'm going to go into a field and try my luck picking up the serpent because God said it wasn't going to bite me kind of thing.
Well, dragons are potentially an amalgamation of our predators. Birds of prey, serpents, lizards, and like alligators types of things. So you put them all into one being, you get the dragons. So that's what they figured out, that's why it's so ingrained to so many humans, is because we have visualized the predators of our ancestors.
And Luis, I'm gonna
which
kick
is
you.
not a bad. It's not a bad
back.
skip of logic.
I'm gonna kick you back on that because my argument to that is
it's related to epigenetics. It's not invalid.
Is that something that size would have to have bird-like bones to fly, and hollow bones do not preserve well.
Oh, no doubt. You are on the money, and this is the thing we discussed in one episode about like the lies around dinosaurs that at the beginning, wow, the fucking shit they made up was insane.
About dinosaurs?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they made up new like they were making up dinosaurs left and right that don't exist. That never. So they were finding bones, right? And they were just making shit up.
Yep. They'd find a few bones and then create the rest of it.
I was just going to say that they found some bones and hodgepodged them together, and that's how we.
Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Whoa! Perfect example. Triceratops don't exist.
Never existed.
See?
Triceratops never existed.
What about the like the velociraptor?
The velociraptors existed.
Yeah, okay.
No, and they're fascinating because they think they were warm-blooded.
Warm-blooded.
So what they realized is, well, first of all, so Jurassic Park was actually Cretaceous Park. Should have been called Cretaceous Park, but Jurassic just sounded fun. Because actually most of the animals are in the Cretaceous period. Those all I think no
Correct.
Animals from the Jurassic period. But in relationship to the animals, they have realized because of the movement, because of the required metabolism, most of these were actually warm-blooded. And the way they took care of the eggs and such was like also they're trying to realize they like the mothers were potentially they were more caring potentially. So there's a lot of different nuance to it, but also a lot of what you would call dinosaurs were bird-like beings, but they still have very strong bones, but they were also the ones that flew. And they discovered there's a lot of them that flew. They've discovered a lot of the small ones that have been preserved, and we've discovered a lot of flying dinosaurs that existed.
Well, that'll bring me to down here in the south, legends of.
But they were preserved because of an asteroid impact, basically hit us and it instantly flash killed everybody.
Have you ever heard of the legends of Thunderbirds? That's something that's very common down here in the southeast, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. Even there is stories of.
We might have killed those with pesticides alone, man.
There's stories of pterodactyls, basically, or thunderbirds that were still around in the time of picture taking. Like there's
That's what I mean. We might have killed them with pesticides.
There's a bunch of pictures that they say are real. Like there's really a hard way to put it against that they're fake or whatever.
They're huge. They're huge. No, those pictures are real. I think
5-6 men holding them and stuff like that. Like
that's real. There's actually ones in museums. They're there.
And so like that alone, it's just like, that's a pterodactyl, something that was definitely painted to us, especially through school. It
was
and
larger
stuff.
than that though, but
not only painted to us larger than that, but painted to us as something from like that dinosaur era that they're, that the one that they're screwing, times when they're screwing up.
Birds used to
stuff,
hunt us.
Yeah.
No,
yes.
Birds used to hunt us.
100%. 100%.
Like 100. No, hunt humans.
That's a real thing.
Okay, so you've seen, I remember this episode of Maury or something where this woman had a incredible fear of birds, and they bring out this beautiful lovebird, and this woman just runs away like it's the most.
Boy.
And it's funny to like most people. It's ingrained because who knows how long ago a bird last killed an ancestor of theirs.
Well, I mean, if you have any ancestors from Australia, it was probably in a closer lifetime than you realize, since the emus did whoop that ass. Like, because
wow, yeah,
the Great Emu War. But it's still actually very common for ostriches are kind of aggressive unless you raise them yourself.
Super aggressive.
Your ostriches are your ostriches, you know what I'm saying? And they'll be friendly with what you kind of raise them with or what you do with them and stuff, but they become very protective. They are down here. It's common, again, this is something I see a lot on farms out here where I'm at, is people will have an ostrich or an emu as a protection animal in their field with goats and sheep and stuff like that, because a coyote does not stand a chance against a 7-foot bird that could kick it across the yard. So
have you seen an ostrich egg is this big?
Oh yeah, they're massive.
And some people cook them. It's insane. I need a big ass pan for that one.
To kind of backtrack just a little bit, earlier you had said something about being sold on ideas and having like I guess a bias in some way. If it's one thing that I try to promote on this show is I'm not big into one-handed biases. That's why we do have such a large group of different people, so that we can have disagreements and stuff like that, and show people that it is capable of having disagreements and still continuing forward and having it in a civil way and such like that. And I am always up for the show me something new. I've been on the journey of looking at the reality of things for a really, really long time. Like when I seen everybody else finally catching up when the whole COVID thing happened, I was like, okay, I don't give up. I guess I have to come back to the internet now. Cause like I was getting to the point where I was just like, I'm done. I'm tired of saying my part. Like you guys have drained the energy out of me and I'm going to do other things. And then like out of nowhere, everything I was saying it started going, the counter started going, and we're up to like 66-0 for conspiracy theorists right now, as far as like who's right and who isn't. And a lot of these things,
dimensional beings are next.
All right. And a lot of these things are things that I've pointed out for years, and I try to continue to point out for years. And I find it amazing that other people are starting to find some of this stuff. And then when I hear some people talk about some things, I'm like, ooh, I know where you are right now. Wait till you find this, because
I do the same.
It's a never ending rabbit hole to be really, and you might get stuck in a part for a little while. Like I'm not even gonna lie. I had a time where I was going through things and I totally got stuck in the realm of the flat earth idea. But the more I seen towards the simulation earth idea, and the Matrix being a documentary, not being a just an entertainment type movie, and trying to look for the similarities and stuff like that, that's the closer I got to the thing like me and Luis were talking about earlier with the whole like the spaceship theory and stuff. And I've stole little bits and pieces from a cohort. I do stuff with Josh Reed over there on the Red Pill Project, and he has a similar theory to mine, and so does David Icke. And I find it fascinating that these three separate people that don't even know each other have actually all come to a similar theory, like just working on all these different aspects in their own.
David Icke is such a bizarre figure.
He is so bizarre,
Icke.
but
I've
spoken with him.
He was a soccer
not on the
player,
show, but I've spoken with him. Yeah.
Oh, you've spoken with him?
I've in back and forth in emails, because I have been trying to get him on the show for a while now. He's got a hectic schedule compared, and I thought it would be amazing to talk to him now that he's banned in Europe. So
oh no! So I don't know if you heard that he's banned in the Schengen area for hate speech.
I don't know how I feel about him. I mean,
there's no hate speech. He just said that it's like he didn't. There's no hate speech. That was a lie from the Netherlands.
There's some things I disagree with him on, but
oh yeah, I know he says crazy stuff for sure.
But he has made
really, bro.
He has made some really good points, and I will give it to him as being a good, just like Flat Earth. This is why I've actually always kind of had a little bit of a respect for a lot of Flat Earthers, is because they get one thing that I can't seem to knock through a lot of people's head, is that if it's funded or backed by the government, it's most likely corrupt, and there's most likely tons of lies within that thing.
100%. Yes.
And David Icke does a really good, or Ike, or however you say it. I butcher everything. That's part of my gig here. So there's always been some things that he's talked about that kind of stand out, and it does get people's attention. Like there's, I mean,
the reptilians.
I truly believe that there's always that messages out there. It gets to one person, like even my messages, even my episodes. I don't care if only one person gets the message in my episode. That's great. I say
that all the time.
That's great. It's one person at a time. Like it doesn't matter to me if I get it, out of this world on things.
World Trade Center 7. Just look up World Trade Center 7. Always, just look up World Trade Center 7.
That's always a good place to go. That's probably going to get us. That's
a good start to the rabbit hole. I don't think.
Were you in NYC at that point, or were you still out of?
No, I'm in Puerto Rico. I was 16.
Okay, I didn't know.
I think another thing to just on your point with, even if it's one person, I know that a lot of people think that if you talk about negative or dark stuff all the time, that it's an energy suck and you're basically giving your energy away. But I am so thankful for those people who never stopped talking about it, because it woke me up to a lot of things. It got me started my own podcast, and I still listen to them today, because you can put up that hedge between this is sucking my energy and this is informative. Because if it wasn't for the people who just never stopped talking about, for an example, Pizzagate was really huge for a long time, and people just wouldn't stop talking about it until now. We got Balenciaga. Told you so 6 years ago or 4 years.
Did you see the Simpsons clip? Wait, did you guys see the Simpsons clip from Balenciaga? If you haven't seen it, oh my God, it's crazy.
I have seen that, but I was going to say to your point there about, the Pizzagate thing, I'm going to go back even further, because back in the 80s, there was totally an ex-CIA agent that come out and said all of this stuff that was going on, who was doing it, and all this, that, and the other. And he ended up, getting that old
suicided.
That suicided, 2 shots to the back of the head, suicide kind of
with
deal.
his left hand.
Yeah,
and he was right-handed.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like,
really, it's a skill. You have to use a mirror.
I'm glad that I get to see him come back around a lot, in different forms, because it is good to bring him back in different forms. And I don't disagree as far as the, putting the bad energy out, but I have a knack for making it fun. Like I want to put the bad information out there, but I have to do it in a comical, almost stand-up kind of way, over the top, with my pirate hat and my colors and stuff like that, because it makes you smile, and 2, because at the end of the day, when they do show up at the house and they're like, hey, you're a threat, I'm gonna be like, wait, you took what goes on in the other universe on the computer seriously? Well, I'm gonna do it in a pirate hat, bro.
Yeah.
I was speaking as one of the best divergent elements is, we're just having a discussion about another universe. What are you talking about? This is all fantasy. This is all for entertainment purposes only. If you're taking anything we're saying with like absolute seriousness, that's on you, bro. This is for entertainment.
Do your own research.
Your own research.
I do think that there's a lot of conspiracy realists like us out there that are getting burnt out, and they've been in the game for way longer than even we have. And I have to say, like, yes, that can be tiring. And I, take my hat off to you, but it's very necessary.
What are you talking about?
But there was an episode Luis hung out with us wearing a colander on his head, and I totally told him he needed to stick to that because it just fit. Like
the colander.
The colander would have just been the best thing to run with. It was fun.
No problem. Civil unrest is not happening anywhere in the world right now.
But and I hate to be this guy. I hate to kind of sound negative about somebody else, but there was another guy that was a part of our group before too, and me and him had an outside disagreement because me and the rest of this show, unfortunately, I guess, because they like to agree with me on this, have a sore spot against Bill Hicks, because when I tried to do some stuff with and for InfoWars, Alex Jones's response to my show was, I, the pirate guy, am too extreme for his beliefs. So, I've always been the guy that goes after Alex Jones because I know he's Bill Hicks, because even the great William Cooper called him out and proved he was Bill Hicks before William Cooper was unalived. And
really? He also said that?
He did. I shared it on a clip a couple episodes ago because there was an interview about him, and he went on to this whole thing.
The one we couldn't play.
That you totally need to go watch, because it is a little bit much because of some of the language and stuff. But like, he's out there telling you that he's like, no, like Bill Hicks had a deal with the CIA, and he just moved on over, and his Bill Hicks life vanished, and he moved on over to become the current pushing 60, if not over it, Alex Jones, regardless of what he tries to say that he is.
The easiest way, it's very simple.
The teeth. And like,
that's it. That's how you can tell it's the same person.
I won't take away from the fact that Alex has been right quite a few times. Don't get me wrong. But a true journalist that has been right gets the Gary Webb Award, gets that CIA.
Unless he's controlled opposition.
Because every time a true journalist comes forward with this stuff, tries to come out with this stuff, their car blows up or something.
You know how much money he made after Sandy Hook?
And then
more money after Sandy Hook.
And then there's that whole ordeal where he just got all this TV time and got fined an unfathomable amount of money, to me.
1.2 trillion, more than the GDP of Russia.
Yeah, and people actually believe that it's not just a show. And like that, it totally led to some sour stuff between me and another friend, because I started showing him the proof about it, and dude kind of rage quit on me and currently makes fun of me in his spare time. So
I agree with what you said. I think, and I used to be that person, and I have no shame. I used to, 11 o'clock every day, I was turning my phone on and, I wonder especially during the baloney virus. I was very much
Covfefe?
I wanted to hear.
Winnie the Pooh.
I was very nervous about the turkey basters coming out, and I very much so wanted to see what his opinion on it was. And then I started finding podcasts that were more real and resonated more with me than that, because it's like you said, it did feel like I was watching VH1 or something. It was very almost okay, and now you're gonna get mad and say you're gonna quit if they don't buy your vitamin C tablets. Go.
And see, to me, he pushes that negative energy out there. Like he's pushing a different level of negative energy. And to me, what I see with it is that there are a lot of people that, what are the word the kids are using now? That simp for this Alex Jones fellow.
Right.
To a point that it's just like, okay, guys, like you do realize that he is just the alternative Anderson Cooper. Like to me, there's no difference if I was to turn on the TV and see Anderson Cooper or see Alex Jones, I'm going to be like, okay, they're both spewing a bunch of nonsense at me. Like
that's the power of controlling all narratives.
Correct.
So people like this is the biggest one that people can't fathom. So they're in an office and they have, let's say, a team of 5, and they can get things to get done. I just call them incompetent. But in reality, when that happens, they then create the idea, oh my God, there can't be a complex web of decision makers that make choices for the greater collective. That's impossible. Oh, that's funny. The thing is, the evidence that there is collusion on a mass scale of different types, and George Carlin said it perfectly. George Carlin said it perfectly. It's a club. They all grew up together.
You're not in it. Yeah.
And you're not in it. And that's the reason people don't understand that there are forces in different categories doing different things. And the agenda is generally not the concept of nefariousness. And there is not generally that organized, but it's profit. It's profit. It's all about making money.
The way I try to explain it to people is especially when they like to use the word conspiracy, and I'm like, sure. Do I believe that a bunch of very rich people have similar interests and similar goals occasionally gather to conspire to make more money for themselves together? Yes. Like that's to think that that's not a real thing.
Do?
You're right. To think that that's not a real thing, to think that people are like, oh, they don't get together and plan this stuff. Bro, they sit on each other. They go to parties in the woods in front of giant owls with each other and do That's weird real. Sex cult shit.
Yeah, it's a fundamental for me. If I'm going to explain something, it's like one of those base blocks of the conspiracy ladder. That's a fundamental. You have to realize first that that's going on, and then you can add on from there. Because
learn about propaganda.
Right. It makes everything else make more sense.
The US is so good at it. Like that's what this guy was talking about, Victor, that like that's the degradation of society. That in the population bomb, if you guys have heard of that book,
yes,
the population bomb put in the people's brains the idea of overpopulation. So how do you decrease population and how do you destabilize certain collectives? You destroy the nuclear family, the foundation of a society. So that's what been the agenda, and sadly in the United States, the far left has the population agenda on steroids, destroying collectives, and it's actually why it makes them the most racist. And it's funny that they call the other side racist when the other side isn't that racist. They're just honest. I mean, of course, there's certain nuance in certain people, and also whole taking rights away from women is pretty fucking stupid. But in general, like that's the problem we have, is the far left has gone fascist, and then the right just turned into the 90s Democrats.
I mean, that's one way of looking at it for sure. And on my show, I explore a lot of the things that happened in the past to make now make sense.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest ones is ancient culture. That they're playing the ultimate long game. This didn't just happen within the last couple of years. And, you know, if I can set up, like I said, those fundamental basic stepping stones, I feel like I can make more sense with some of the other topics I cover.
So I'm going to allude you back to episode 82 or 83. I like to talk about this episode a lot. It's one of my most viewed episodes. I had an amazing gentleman come and join me by the name of Michael, who is a conspiracy guy that ran out of conspiracy stuff and joined the Masons to see what it was about. And he learned a whole bunch of stuff in there too, and a whole bunch of other history that we definitely don't get to come across and stuff. And he started putting together this interesting correlation and brought it to my attention, and happened to be Luis's attention. It's like a 3-hour episode, but we go through how they
81? 83.
Yeah, like 80, 82 or 83. He goes through the conversation about how they, the proverbial they that we're all usually kind of talking about, he has traced them back all the way to Spain and has
Get to
traced
the punchline. It's so good.
Has traced them through from Spain to where they moved into the Ottoman Empire, and where they moved from the Ottoman Empire into like the Catholic Church and into the Jesuits field and stuff like that. And for a very long time, they used the name the Frankists. And that's the name that I decided to stick with using for them. And what they were a bunch of people that were practicing mystical Kabbalah and laws of inversion. Yeah.
What if I were to tell you that I did this same research myself and I'm doing a whole 4-part series on it next month, and I traced them back further than that?
To before the Marranos in Spain? When the Roman Empire ran the Marranos out of Spain?
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Interesting, because because I would like to see where they would come from before there.
I got it for you.
Oh, that's great.
But that sets me up to because I'm actually going to have to eat something because I jumped on here right after work. But that sets me up to kind of plug my stuff a little bit.
Ma'am.
I do have that coming out for January. It's a 4-part series.
I look forward
and
to
I did it in 4 parts because it's a lot of information, and I wanted to keep it interesting, and I wanted to keep people involved in the process of how I got there. And if you hit them hard with like a 3-hour episode, people are going to drop off. Like
we did 7 hours between two.
But my 3-hour episode got 10,000 views. It's one of my most viewed videos.
Yeah. And I don't have the energy sometimes to sit and record 3 hours by myself because I do a lot of solo stuff. So it's me talking into a microphone by myself. So I'll break it up and do like an hour and a half, an hour, maybe even like a 45-minute episode, and then another hour and a half, just so I can get a break in it. And, you sit and talk to yourself in a microphone for so long, you stop making sense. You're like, am I even talking anymore? Like, I've just laid so much stuff out. But yes, I have that series coming out in January, and I cover basically anything that you could possibly be interested in, including cryptids and more conspiracy type of theories like MK Ultra.
Oh, yeah.
SRA, I cover a lot of that, and then
the best part is MK Ultra is just a fact now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's literally a fact.
Yeah, I've actually I did an entire whole little mini series on like MK Ultra type stuff and things like that in the earlier days of the show. We've got a couple multi-part series that we did there for a little while. We're working on some more. It's just we've had some schedule conflicts in the
for sure. Weeks. And to go along with my series for January, I'm working on a podcumentary, is what I call it, to go along. And I just started my YouTube channel. I kept having listeners ask me why I didn't have a YouTube, and I kept saying, I don't think it's worth it. They're just going to take it off anyways. I talk about a lot of crazy stuff. So they kept asking for it, and I made one. So we'll see how long it lasts, but it is Cosmic Peach Podcast on YouTube. And that's where I'm going to post the podcumentary. And I'm on Instagram, cosmic.peach.podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, I'm there. And if you want to get your mind blown, I just wanted to tell you one more time where you can go, and that's Cosmic Peach Podcast.
I have got all of your links to make sure that they can get back to you. And of course, we know that I'm going to share them as well with this episode, and you'll be able to find them over there as well on unconstitutionalawakening.com, the home for everything that we got going on. You have been an absolute pleasure this evening. I had a blast. Thank you. I do hope you come back and join us again, because you've not even begun to met the crew.
I know. I was thinking I was going to meet Kel, but that's okay. Maybe next time. He did message me during this. He has been down with a cold the past week, so when he sends me voice text, he doesn't send me text, and he actually sent me text today, and I was like,
wait, what's wrong? And he's like, I don't have a voice, man. And I was just like,
Oh.
I was like, man, I was like, you gotta get that back. He was just like, man, this cold took that voice from me. And I was like, yes, sir. Like
You
when
have
you,
cool album art too. I
when
like your album, it's cool.
oh yeah, when when he's, I love Kel. I met him actually prior to even doing the show stuff with this. Me and him come across each other online, and he actually has a really large YouTube following. I do have a YouTube page for us too, but I'm picky on which episodes I share there because of some of the subjects we do cover.
Have you been deranked in YouTube?
No, because I've been very picky about the episodes that go over there. But Kel's got like over 3,000 followers on one of his YouTubes and almost 20 on one of his other YouTubes, and he's an older gentleman, compared to all of us for sure. But he has got some stuff out there. And I'm just like Luis. I'm lucky to have scooped them up to make them a part of the Unconstitutional Awakening family, because I couldn't ask for two more amazing brains. All of them that are on here, truly. But these two guys were both kind of once-offs that I met because of being on the internet, and like they're amazing people. And it's the same with the rest of my crew. Caitlin, I had to have me a redheaded girl on the show too, so she's a blast.
Yeah,
and
we're magical.
Hey, there's something about the redhead thing, and then Neptune and Bandit and Ox were kind of originally in this with me. They were admins on meme pages that I've run, and we've all run together and stuff like that. And I started doing podcasts or shows on the Red Pill Project, and Josh Reed offered me my own show on his network, and I was just like, at first I was like, yes, but then I thought about it a little longer, and I was like, no. I was like, you know what? For some reason, I've got this column that says I need to do this by myself, and I dove head first. But I was like, I'm taking my homies with me because I don't want to do it by myself. Like I could see we're talking to yourself for a little while. You're like, oh man, like. So,
no, I think so. To be honest with you, I'm very grateful for the people I've met podcasting, because we are a little kind of like a family in a way, and we have to have each other's back, because it can be a lonely, bitter fucking world out there. Oops, sorry.
No.
You can swear here, but it's a great point. I've met the most wonderful, interesting people
and genuine in a lot of cases. Very.
It's
genuine.
like the people you want to meet all around your life, but no,
Right.
Sadly, you have to use a thing called the internet and a series of tubes for us to speak through light.
I actually find it funny that you just said those exact words. There's been a lot of things tonight you and I seem to have agreed on and kind of believe in the same way. And you made the mention of the family thing. Here recently, I've had a lot of podcast guests from the Instagram world. Ghost and my buddy Ryan that I made recently, and Testimona and Nate and them from the Reality Czars, and I've been talking about how on Instagram I have made this podcast family, and I opened up the show today saying that you're another one of the people that I found thanks to the podcast family that I'm making over there. And you're absolutely right. To find all these minds, even though we're scattered all over the place, we're all making a difference to somebody. And that's growing, that's planting the seeds of freedom and liberty in people's minds, and it's growing it all over the world. And that's amazing. Like,
absolutely.
That's how we have to be hopeful. At the end of the day, we are entering even more darkness soon, but the amazing light that's at the end of that tunnel is so
worth it. It's going to be worth it. Yeah.
Just understand, it's only going to get crazier.
So is there, since we're getting ready to sign out, Cosmic Peach, is there anything you'd like to leave everybody with before we sign out?
No, I agree with everything that you said. I first went on Ghost from My Third Eye, his podcast, and that was the first podcast I ever went on ever, and he's been super supportive of me ever since. And I'm just grateful for our little crazy conspiracy podcast family. We'll have to do a conspiracy Thanksgiving one year.
Nice. I love it. Luis, you got anything good and wisdomy for me this evening?
Just be curious, regardless if it's something you absolutely and totally disagree with, because you might discover the similarities of how you both, whoever that other person is, arrived to your own conclusions. And sometimes it's from bad people that just want to manipulate certain elements of your existence in order to subjugate you to their control. And sometimes it's people that love you and want to give you everything in the world. And sometimes it's just misguided youth that saw something on TV and their friends, and now they're putting hormones into their bodies that they shouldn't. And it's by the way, that comes from the Frankist CRT. So yeah, look up the Frankfurt School. Yeah, look up the Frankfurt School on CRT.
Yeah.
And look up Tavistock. Okay, sorry, that's
There we
I'm
go.
done
No.
Oh yeah.
Hey, there we go. I think those are great things to look up. And of course, you guys know that are out there listening with me that, again, anything that we've shared tonight that you guys want to see visually or anything to check back on some of the information we've been sharing, we'll have those links for you with this episode down below, whether you're listening or watching. All the links to get back over there to Cosmic Peach Podcast and everything she's got going on so that you guys can have some fun with her. Back over there at unconstitutionalawakening.com, you'll also find some good stuff to check out what Luis is doing and things like that, because he's even got a website out there you guys can link over to as well. And you guys know that before I leave, I need to say thank you to everybody out there watching and listening. And why did the pirate have to go to the Apple store to get a new eye patch? You guys have a fantastic evening.